Okay, you ready? Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Friday the 13th Ways and Means meeting. Let's stand and recite the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. I've already checked the roll. And we have, moving on to our agenda here this morning, we have some changes to it. There's three changes to our agenda. We're removing 2 and adding 1. We're striking Section 8 of the road millage and Section 17 of the jury board appointments. And then we are going to add an item D under number 12 for sick leave policy. So, anything else to our agenda?
Nope.
No? Okay. Anybody want to move that?
I'll move the agenda.
Okay. Moved and supported. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, moving along, approval of the January 16th meeting minutes. Moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And we are now to item 6, limited public comment. If you'd like to step to the podium, state your name. And you have 3 minutes.
Morning.
Good morning.
Council Court Administrator for the courts. I just wanted to speak real briefly about the executive search interview yesterday with Mr. Dawson. Just speaking on behalf of the courts. We have always had a wonderful working relationship with the Controller's Office. They support us, they include us in meetings, discussions regarding budget, and so I have no reservations continuing to, if the committee decided to appoint Mr. Dawson as the Controller's Office, I don't have any reservations that he would do a wonderful job. We'd receive the same support we've always have. Working with him myself regarding budgets, human resource issues that we have. He's been a wealth of knowledge, support, and has guided us. And so I just wanted to make that comment and would enjoy continuing to work with him. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we will have a second opportunity at the end of the meeting. And we are on to item number 7, Public Defender Update. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Matt Newberg. I am the public defender, 3 weeks in, 2 weeks in. I wanted to just provide an update to everybody to let you know kind of the progress and the changes we've made in the last few weeks. We have hired a new paralegal who has 8 years of experience over at Ingham County. She also was involved with Ingham and Clayton County probation departments at one point in her career, so she's got understanding of the court system, the court process. She's got a bachelor's degree from Ferris in criminal justice, and so she is going to be starting on Tuesday, which is going to be great. We've had a couple meetings with some legal assistants. There's some spots that we need to fill there, so we had some meetings yesterday, some interviews yesterday. We have another one today at 1. From a process and procedures perspective, we've changed how things are working a little bit. We're just trying to bifurcate problems and issues and then address them and then move forward. We've created a draft policies and procedures document for the office that is going to get reviewed and finalized in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We've revamped our intake process. Originally, there was a law student who was a law clerk who would go and meet with individuals at the jail, take 4 or 5 hours with them. And by the time those documents got back to the office, jail arraignments are in the afternoon. Documents weren't all collected, they weren't all completed, and it was kind of difficult for us to manage all of that. So there's intake sheets, there's processes and procedures that we had to to follow. So what we decided to do is work with the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department has been great. We provide them with the intake paperwork that would need to get filled out. They are then having the inmates do that before 8 o'clock in the morning. They put it in a folder for us. They bring the folder here if it's a court day. Otherwise, we go to the jail and pick it up. And then by 8:15 or 8:20, we have all the documents we need for the day for the afternoon arraignments. Those documents then get inputted into a system. We have a checklist that needs to get followed throughout the day. And then by the end of the day, everybody that was supposed to be arraigned has been arraigned. We have all of their documents. And then the next day, they're notified whether they qualify for a public defender, whether the public defender's office will be representing them, or somebody who's on our conflict list. So that's really important because one of the biggest qualifications from MIDC is that from the time someone's arraigned to the time that they have to have contact with a lawyer is 72 hours. And the process before took 3 or 4 days for that person to get notified, so we were missing that deadline. It is the easiest thing for MIDC to ding us on because it's a deadline that has to be followed. So the way that it works now is if somebody gets arraigned today, the next business day, so Tuesday, is when the clock starts ticking. They will be notified by email and a letter at 10 the next morning that they have been approved for public defender. They've been denied a public defender for a specific reason under the MIDC standards. They'll be notified who the public defender is and the office that they can communicate with moving forward. Our discovery coordinator has been in place. They've met with the prosecutor's office on multiple occasions to streamline that process. We are caught up at this point in any case in our office from a discovery perspective. The discovery has been obtained, it's been uploaded, it's been organized, it's been downloaded, and it's been exchanged. We've used smart communication system with the Sheriff's Department. Had not been used before, but it allows us to electronically provide discovery to every inmate in the jail. So the process now is that we get the discovery, it gets downloaded into our case management system and immediately shared with the person at the jail if that's where they're at. If it's not, it's immediately shared via email, so we have some record for that. Another requirement that MIDC needs us to follow, and honestly, it's an ethical obligation for us to provide them with their discovery. They can choose to decline that discovery, and there is an opportunity for them to do that through the jail system. So within a 24-hour period from being arraigned and receiving the discovery, they have everything they need. The lawyer that's going to be representing them, how to contact them, when their next court date is, and all the discovery that they need. And then we have a check system for us to communicate with that person if they are incarcerated within the time allotted by the MIDC. We've reorganized how the public defender's office responds to courts. We have assigned each lawyer to a court. So if there's an issue in Judge Cunningham's court, they know the lawyer that's responsible for that, or if they need to schedule something different, they know the person that they need to communicate with. Once we get some additional support staff, then we will also assign a support staff for the circuit court and a support staff person for the district court, so that the clerks know who they need to send notices to, who they need to communicate with on hearing dates, and then that support staff person will communicate that directly to the lawyer and put it on their calendar. So that is where we're at now. We are working on some cost-saving measures, frankly, just based on efficiency. I had some conversations with MIDC yesterday about some changes I'd like to see in the office, and I've had conversations with Ben and Connie about that too. From a structural perspective, MIDC was pretty receptive to that yesterday, and that is not asking for additional money. It's reallocating some money that we have and then actually coming below where we need to be. The last thing that we've done is there's always been a line item for us to contract a conflict counsel to manage the conflict cases. So essentially what happens is the cases come in, if there's a conflict or if we are over our MIDC case counts or getting close, we have to send those cases to someone else. And we have a rostered list which has been revamped in the last 2 weeks that indicates the level of cases those roster attorneys can handle. And so now what we're doing, instead of handling all of that in-house, we send a list every morning by 10 in the morning to our conflict counsel with all the necessary paperwork, including court notices, court dates, intake forms, contact information. We send it to them in a spreadsheet with those attachments. They then are dealing with the conflict counsel on the list. They're the ones that review the bills. They're the ones that handle any issues. And then we only see those cases when they come back to make sure that the bills get approved. So that is a time-saving measure that my office no longer has to deal with. Every morning by 10 o'clock, those conflict cases are sent to the assigned counsel lawyer, and then he deals with those, and we keep on that 72-hour MIDC requirement because he gets them less than a day after they've been arraigned. He gets then essentially a day to assign them out, and then there's another business day for the people who accept those cases to then go and see those lawyers. He also sends us back monthly a spreadsheet which shows the number of cases that have been assigned out, the number of cases that each assigned lawyer has, because we also have to make sure they comply with the MIDC caseload requirements. So we'll stay on top of that, monthly in our meetings internally with our support staff to make sure that people are getting the cases that they should be getting, that they can handle, that they're authorized to handle. And we have really beefed up that list. We've got some really great lawyers from the east side of the state that are willing to come and help us out. Some really great lawyers in Lansing that are top of the top, frankly, in private practice that are willing to help us out. And so the representation for those most significant offenses, if it's not done by our office, is going to be done by people who have tried hundreds of cases in their career, including the most significant cases on the federal and state level. So that's where we're at right now. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them, but that's kind of where our office sits.
Commissioner Christensen.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say thank you for that. I love the communication. I love the transparency, and I'm glad to see things progressing forward in that office.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. I have said before, and I'll say it again, if anybody wants my number, please get it. I'll be happy to give it to you. If anybody has questions, if anybody wants to come over and look and see what the processes are and see what we're doing, meet the people that are in that office, you're more than welcome to do that. I mean, we are a governmental office. We are not a secretive place. And our doors are absolutely open for anybody who's interested in coming and saying hello, asking how things work. We have nothing to hide.
So I heard you invite us to meet you before we have to meet you.
Yeah. And Fridays, we usually have treats in the morning. So we're 2 Fridays in a row with some bagels and some donuts and some punchkis. So, I would highly recommend a Friday morning visit if that's what you want to do. Otherwise, you get water from a fountain.
Sure has.
Yes, I want to echo Commissioner Christensen's statement there. So thank you for, getting on us so quick. Honestly, it's awesome to see. You mentioned somewhere along the way during the workload or caseload balancing that there's a day to review and then a day to submit to see if someone wants to take on your counsel. Is that usually the normal that someone gets 1 day to decide if they need your help or not?
Yeah, they don't essentially get a day. They can choose however long they want, and they can always hire their own lawyer. We just have an obligation to notify them, hey, you qualify. If you want us, we will file an appearance. We do automatically for those that do qualify, and then if we get contacted by another lawyer that they've hired, then we just do a substitution of counsel. So they will get, essentially, the arraignments are done in the county by 4, and then by 10 the next morning, they get notice. So it's 72 hours, business hours, right? So they do get more time than that, but that's how the process works, is we let them know, hey, you do qualify. And we are asking them at the arraignments, do you plan on hiring your own lawyer? Because you don't know if family can come up with some money, right? They may be indigent, but their family may not be. So we do ask that question, and then we just notate it. We have totally changed our intake form to 1 page instead of 5. So, and we've changed the language so everybody can understand it, debts and obligations and assets are things that some people may not understand, so we've really simplified that, distills it down. And so we do have a space for notes, and we will put in there, they indicated they may hire their own lawyer. And so we'll tell them, hey, we're gonna be filing an appearance. This is the process that your lawyer will need to take. They will know that. But this is the process your lawyer needs to take.
And that was my thought was if you've hopefully never been in that situation before, that, one day might be kind of like, do I want this? Do I want something
Yeah.
else? Yeah. So
We've also, up until 2 weeks ago, arraignments which we're required to attend, or somebody from our office was attended by a third-party law firm. And that was very expensive. Very expensive. And we have totally cut them out. So we are handling all of our own arraignments internally. We have a monthly schedule that we provide to the court, so the court knows who to expect from our office that we'll be attending. And it allows us an opportunity to have an initial communication with that potential client or that person, where we can ask some more questions to make sure that we know what we're signing up for and we get our questions answered. So that also streamlined that process, because if we had a third party doing it, they may have gotten the intakes to our office 2 or 3 days later. And by then, we've blown a deadline, and we still haven't even reviewed anything or sent anything out. So that's another massive cost saving. I mean, just under 6 figures annually has been cut by that one modification. So.
And I'll add, what we really appreciate in the controller's office and our partnership with Matt and working through this is, even though this is largely funded by state money, it's still taxpayer money. And so we want it to run efficiently and effectively. And coming from private practice, Matt had shared, he had some video editing software that, not editing, but it would summarize body cam footage, which saved a tremendous amount of time for staff. So we're actually looking into that as a model that we may be adopting for the prosecutor's office and the public defender's office through Axon. So that'll be a topic that comes up later. Another piece I don't think he touched on yet, but we've developed a contract with our roster attorneys because the invoicing sometimes was really delayed. It would make difficulty on our end with our reporting requirements with the state. So we've been implementing a framework for standardizing that stuff too, which takes relief off of our office administratively. Obviously, it's probably going to take 3-4 months, everybody to kind of get used to the new normal, but we're very happy with the approach and direction that we're moving with it. So, thank you.
All right, any other questions for Matt? Commissioner Mott?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say thank you to Controller Sobey for making this happen, because she reached out to Matt and got this ball rolling. And thank you, Matt, for willing to step up, because this is really a big deal, because we were not in compliance with MIDC for a long time. And I know we get, they stand up there and give us reports, but I want to emphasize, this is a big deal for the county and for the people, the residents of this county, and the courts. I mean, they've been struggling too with this whole situation. So thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, very well done, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. All right. Skipping item 8, moving on to item 9, the Treasurer's Office Annual Report. Good morning, Treasurer Raynette.
Morning, Commissioners. Excuse me. Good morning. I am Darius Raynette, Eaton County Treasurer, and I'm here this morning to present to you the annual report for the Treasurer's Office. This is something that I have been, I approached several times during the last year, and it's a work in progress, and the previous report, or the last one I could find, was from 2022. And like everything that Bob Robinson done, it was very elaborate, very nice, very marketed, very well. And I looked at that and like, okay, I can kind of update that and then do this, and then I'd get distracted by something else. So, and there were a few things I wanted to change and add and delete. So when it came to putting this together, and I also kind of had a delay because I lost some time due to an illness and a conference. So what I have here is a focus, or my focus is where our county money is for the general fund invested, what vehicles it's in, and the returns for the last 2 fiscal years. And I know the formatting was secondary to getting the information out there. So I apologize if the format is a little off, but I do plan to make changes in updating that. And it's my goal forward to have quarterly updates on this. So what we can invest in as a county is limited to, or spelled out in Public Act 20 of 1943. The key 2 points in that is that they want the funds to be invested in safe, risk-averse investments, and they also want liquidity. So this limits what municipalities can invest in. Generally very safe, things like FDIC-insured accounts, CDs, money markets, some commercial paper and treasury bills, and some few other things, but no equities or stock. So when looking at the investments, I kind of think of it as that we have 3 or 4 main banks or investment vehicles. And this, for the general fund, we have, the most common one we have is PNC Bank. And within PNC, we have our business checking account, and then there's also another account called a sweeps account, which takes excess funds in the checking account and sweeps it in for investment on a daily basis, and then at the end of the day, it sweeps it back in. So we earn interest on that. For the year ending 9/30/2024, our total was $51.6 million. For the year ending 9/30/2025, it was $67.3 million. And as you can see in the graph, the thing I wanted to point out is that there was a large rise in May of last year. That was the bank intercounty drain money coming in from the bonds that were put there temporarily while some payments were made, and then it was moved out to Michigan Class, I believe. Another point on the graph that stands out is in September. We usually have a rise because of money coming in for settlement for the month of October. So our typical, as of the last fiscal year, in 2024, the returns on the sweep account was 2.8%. Excuse me, it was 3.7%, and last September, it was 2.84%, reflecting kind of the general trend in interest rates. Next slide, please. Okay, Michigan Class is a private entity that was set up that many local entities are familiar with. They invest money from other local governments, and because they aggregate it, they can get a little bit better interest rate. So at the end of September 30, 2024, our balance was $34.3 million, and at the end of September 2025, it was $29.5 million. The reason for the decline is, actually, if you go to the next slide here, you'll see in the far right column, there's an average daily yield. At the end of the last fiscal year, it was 4.7, and has since declined to 4.2, so about 0.5%. So that is a factor in the decline. I also want to point out that in the center column where it says total in Michigan Class for the quarter, the 96.5 million, that's not what we have. That is the total of that 3 months for that last quarter. It might be obvious, but that it's showing that we don't have that, but it's the way it's summed, and that goes back to the formatting, so. So at the end of the last fiscal year, September 30th, we had 29.5 million, which included the cash and the interest earned. So if you go on to the next slide, I presented this to show what funds have money in Michigan class. See the remaining ARPA funds, then there's also things for the Lincoln Brick endowment or the fund that's holding the money for that, the general fund and delinquent tax fund, and also the opioid settlement. I meant to mention in the PNC account, we have similar accounts broken out for things like the sheriff's office, friend of the court, road commission, things like that. So if you go to you could skip ahead if you don't mind to the next slide with the font changes to the CDs. We also have a couple of CDs. Last year, we had pretty good rates, but there were some CDs too that came due in March and July of last year. And back then, I could still get pretty good rates of about 4.5%. And one was actually able to get 5%, which is really good. So next slide, please. Fortunately, some of those have already come due, and one will shortly come due. So the decline in interest rates, while a good thing, because the Federal Reserve is reducing that, it's on a macro level good because mortgages and auto loans and things like that are lower. On a micro level, in our case, we'll get reduced earnings. And in a moment, I'll talk about some of my possible solutions for that. Oh, one other thing, we also have money in a mutual fund, a money market account, Flagstar Bank, $394,000. If you could go to the accomplishments in 2025. Going back to the issue of banking and PNC, and I want to be clear, we are very happy with the services we get from PNC Bank. There are a myriad of services that can be selected on each of these accounts. And things like bringing up images of checks, something we do I do on my phone all the time, but they charge for that. And it's like a couple of pennies. Or getting a CD of something, images of that. Or also fraud protection. One of those services called ACH Positive Pay is very valuable. We use that, it proved its worth recently. Back in the fall, there was some fraud that was detected. The way ACH works is that we send PNC a list of all our approved payments with a dollar amount, vendor, all that information. Then on our side, we print the checks, goes off to, the transaction occurs. When it's presented to any bank, PNC looks at that and says, okay, these match that and it's good to pay. What happened about last fall is that we got a call from some small bank in some rural community out in Texas that somebody had copied one of our checks, not our check, but they made a check stealing some of our images and presented it. And because of the fraud protection in ACH Positive Pay, they realized it was a fake. This happened a few more times, like in Oklahoma and maybe Illinois. And it was a rash of things. But then it just went away, and there was no loss to the county because that service proved its value. And we did file a report with the sheriff's office, but I think it was one of those things that, what can you do? The only person that was really hurt was the person that was given that check. So, but getting back to the fees, what we started to do is they all have like these esoteric names, so we began asking PNC, what exactly is this? So after we learned more about that, we looked at some of these things and found some duplications or ways that we could save money. For example, one of the agencies, departments, every so often will send out what's called a manual wire, which is like $14. The same thing can be accomplished with an ACH transaction for a couple of pennies. So we've met and will continue to meet with departments saying, this is what you're using. Do Do you really need it? Is there a better alternative? And we identified things like that. So so we have reduced counting banking expenses. And I hope to get you some actual real numbers later on once we have the settlement from PNC. I think one of the most visible things that we've also done last year, at least internally, is we switched places with the clerk's office. We took that opportunity to archive a lot of our records, and then after checking with the retention schedule from the state of Michigan, we properly disposed of records that was the time, and we freed up space. So we did some house cleaning. Another thing that I think is an achievement is that we collaborated with the Controller's Office on a borrowing policy for the delinquent tax revolving fund. And if you remember last year, I think $1 million was transferred out of it. And we'll have some discussions later on about what, if and what we think it can transfer this year. I hate to bring up a bad memory, the intercounty drain, but in addition to providing information that was used for the bonding, we set up a satellite office in Delta Township so that residents in that area could pay off their drain assessments. And then also, we continue to provide services not only for the drain bond accounting to the drain office, but we also reviewed the drain assessments that were calculated by the Spicer Group. And we notified them of errors that we found. In fact, my chief deputy spent about a good 40 hours of her time correcting the assessments, reviewing them, and finding many errors before they were given back to the Spicer Group, before they were eventually sent out. Next slide, please. Foreclosure auctions. That is a topic that is somewhat of a controversial topic that has come up recently, and I wanted to address the county's experience with that. Foreclosure is a 4-year timeline. Starts out with the first year when you're delinquent, then forfeiture, then foreclosure, and then the next year when we get ready to sell the house or may lose the house. And you can be delinquent on subsequent years, like, last year in January 2025, we were focusing on foreclosures for taxes that were due on 2022. So, in every January, we send out many hundreds of foreclosure notices. This is not necessarily meaning we're going to have hundreds of foreclosures in the next few years, because most of them, the people receiving the notices, it'll be a wake-up call or a notice, and they'll pay it off. So I wanted to give some numbers, though. Going back to last January, January 2025, for 2022 taxes, there were 168 parcels that received notices. And also part of the state law, that we have what's called a show cause hearing. And that is where we meet with the homeowner and try to see what's going on, see if we can get them an extension. Oftentimes, we bring in our community service partner, Capitolia Community Services, and they'll put them in contact with like a tax preparation service, the VITA program, so they can apply for credits or get refunds. Sometimes they give them budgeting information, and when possible, they actually will put, they've also in the past been able to provide funds for them to make the payments. So we had 29 of those hearings last year, and we eventually had 13 foreclosure sales that went to sale when we had the auction in the fall. So we were able to avoid, though, 126 foreclosures because they either gotten the notice and realized that they had, had this due or had extensions. Turning to the auctions, there were 13 properties, and most of the properties that were sold were not houses. There was only one house that was actually move-in ready to go. There was another house that was a hoarder situation, and the owner had passed away, and we sold that. But the remaining parcels were like landlocked lots or property that nobody wanted, or a lot that a builder never sold or forgot about. So going back to the topic of foreclosure, even when we had foreclosure, in this particular instance, this last year, there wasn't a lot of, there wasn't like families displaced or anything like that, although it was, I don't want to mitigate or downplay, the gravity of the situation, how tragic that is. Also, related to that is the foreclosure proceeds and the return of that, which is part of this controversy. In the claim that we did have, the sale amount was $300,000. We took out the taxes and expenses plus a 5% fee, which is $15,000. The remaining proceeds is about $237,000. And as long as the former owners or anyone that has interest in that property, as long as they file the paperwork by the May 15th deadline, we're happy to turn that over. They are entitled to that, and we're happy to get it out. Talking about the previous sale, there are also, this is sales that occurred in the fall of 2024. Total claims paid out was about $285,000. Claims prior to 2020, which we call pre-Raphael, we've already paid out about $300,000, those that decided to opt out of the class action lawsuit. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm sorry, hold on a minute. Okay. I talked a minute ago about the problem we have with declining interest rates and how we're going to make up or increase our investments. And I've been contacted by a private investment firm that other counties have used called Catilla Capital, I think. And they have some ideas. One of those is using treasury bills and buying and purchasing it and holding them for like a year or something like that. So we might be able to get better returns. In order to do that, though, we would have to make some adjustments to our investment policy that would allow to have like a third party hold these and also change our definition of long-term investments. That's a goal for the coming year. And when we update that policy, I'm going to use the guidelines from the Association of Public Treasurers of the United States and Canada, which is a very reputable professional organization similar to the Association of Government Accountants. So that's how we're going to pursue the investment opportunities. We're going to continue to meet with the departments to realize operational efficiencies, particularly not just with the fees, but also with bank handling, cash handling techniques and policies, things like that. Also, we're going to increase our partnership with the community service groups, and we're informed of two possible programs that Eaton County might be involved in. One is a grant from the Danny Gilbert's Rocket Community Foundation. We have not had a lot of information on that, but I believe it's for foreclosure prevention and maybe some funds or something like that. And then there has been another program called the Michigan Whole Home Performance Pilot, which focuses on weatherization. And Eaton, along with Ingham and Clinton County, has been designated as a pilot program for this, and there's state funding involved in that. Whether my office will deal directly with this or it'll be handed off to one of like the CACS, we don't know yet. We're still in the early stages, but that is something that we continue to do or continue to monitor. Also, one of our big achievements for the land bank is that we sold the Honer Mill, and we also received a $1 million appropriation from the federal government to alleviate some of the problems with that, to work on that. So I want to thank Congressman Tom Barrett's office for that. We're still waiting for details on that money and how it will be used. But we'll also continue to identify secure funding sources for that because it's about a quarter of what we need. But my goal, though, is to have incremental, recognizable progress done on the mill at least every year. So, so my goals for the next year are to work on redundancy with our staff so we can continue to provide customer services, professional development for the staff, continue our partnership with community service groups, and make steady progress on the land bank. So, do you have any questions for me?
Well, looks like you did a good job or very thorough, Darius. Thank you.
Okay. Well, again, I apologize for the formatting. I first was focusing on the information, then formatting, and then I kind of ran into some, I lost a few days when I became ill, but this is an ongoing project, and it's my goal to have regular quarterly updates, so.
We wouldn't have known it had you not told us, so.
Okay, well, good. Well, I'm a perfectionist, so, but, thank you.
All right, thank you. All righty. On to item number 10, Technology Services Director. And Nathan is taking Eric's place this morning. Good morning, Nathan.
Hi, how are we? Nathan Ibert, Deputy Director for Technology Services. Wanted to give you an update on a couple of broadband projects. The Michigan High-Speed Office is introducing a new web series to keep everybody up to date on the BEAD project. It is live on their YouTube now. In the first episode, Eric Frederick, the Chief Connectivity Officer, goes through the history and the current standing of the BEAD program. I know we've talked many times about the BEAD program. Some stats for you. Michigan got $1.47 billion, which should go for approximately 31,000 miles of fiber optic cable and connect about 200,000 homes and businesses. That work will be starting and take approximately 4 to 5 years. We did just find yesterday that 5,410 proposals, so address proposals for Eaton County specifically, were submitted to the state of Michigan. Of those, 157 were Starlink. So that means that at least 5,200 approximately are fixed wire, either fiber or cable connection. I believe there's around 6,200 addresses that we thought may qualify. There's quite a process to go through and see if each of them actually do qualify or if an address is covered by potentially another project. Speaking of the project, I did hand out a paper map to everybody. This is the RDOF money that was actually created quite a while ago now, but it's the Rural Development Opportunity Fund. It's a federal program that is $1.49 billion over about a decade. It will provide high-speed internet to approximately 700,000 locations. That covers 45 states, and there's 4 different tiers of connectivity for that one. As you see on the map, there's a significant part of Walton and Brookfield Township that are being done like literally right now. You've probably seen the trenching happening if you're down in that area. That's all RDOF related, which means that BEAD would not apply to the areas on this map that are in purple. The next thing I wanted to go over was the Delta Township Station Alerting Project. We had a kickoff meeting this month, and all the equipment's been ordered, and we believe that we should be able to get installation started late this month or in early March. So the next one is the Central Dispatch Unify project. We also had a kickoff meeting for that one. We have all the CAD stations, have all the software installed on it, and then this is a very large project, and we're going to have to be working very closely with other counties so that their 911 system talks to our 911 system flawlessly. Specifically, Calhoun is the first one we're going to be working with, but I do know that I think Livingston has it, and some others may hop on as well. The iPad project for fire and EMS, we just ordered the iPads. We're hoping that the rollout of that will happen in the second quarter of this year. Should be all wrapped up by June. We also have a meeting scheduled with Verizon Wireless engineers. We did this a couple years ago. We're going to do another round of it. Essentially have them come out and look at the areas of the county that don't quite have the coverage that we believe that it could have. I know there's a spot in Delta Township specifically that we would really like to see some better coverage. And we have some tools that are part of the patrol cars that map cell coverage while they're driving around. So you have our map to compare to Verizon's map. Sometimes they're not exactly the same. The Public Defender's Office, as you heard, there's been some significant work that's been done in that office the last couple of weeks. I think we've made quite a bit of progress there. And then finally, the budget. We're just starting to work with departments to figure out their technology requests, and then we'll be assessing the replacement cycles of all of the current hardware and any future hardware. Any questions today?
Commissioner Haskell.
So the map you gave us, this is the RDOF?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So do we have a map that shows the BEAD potential areas too, or no?
We don't,
Okay,
and that is because the state has not released awarded projects, only what vendors have applied for, essentially.
but we know that there's some addresses that qualify in that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. They will only tell us how many points, not where, so that we could make a map.
Yeah, I'm curious because like, you know, how do we know that RDOF and BEAD are talking to each other? Right? We don't?
No.
No, cool. All right, that's what I was afraid of. But,
I mean, I'm sure that they're gonna go through and
Sure.
verify it all, but it's two completely separate groups
yeah,
that have to work together and essentially audit each other's work
gotcha,
to make sure that a service is not installed twice.
right. Yeah, because when I heard that many addresses between BEAD and then RDOF, I'm like, I have a feeling that there's probably some overlap there, but
As
maybe
well
I could be
as
wrong.
the vendors, the ISPs,
Yeah,
are always free to simply expand as well.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that's happening, you know, as new subdivisions pop up and things like that. They're gonna just naturally do that.
so the areas in Brookfield, those, this large purple chunk that we see down there, those are fixed wire services?
It can be either fixed wire, or potentially it could be a wireless system essentially,
Sure,
that would still deliver the minimum specs for high-speed internet.
okay.
So I believe it's all gonna be fiber-based at this point, just because I've seen it being ran, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when you said trenching, that's what I thought, which is, I mean, I think preferable for most, but anything Mercury Wireless that we see kind of in the more Carmel Township area, is that line of sight?
Not necessarily. So Mercury Wireless is the company that bid on it, but they also have a sub-company called Mercury Fiber,
Okay,
which is just the fiber version of that. So it wouldn't shock me if some of these are actually end up being direct fiber to the home.
all right, that's it, thank you.
Any other questions? All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All righty, moving on to item number 11, Public and Governmental Affairs Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. A couple of quick updates for you. Looking at the web and online analytics, we're seeing the same averages basically playing out month to month, and we're continuing to monitor errors and failures from JavaScript or any negative insights from the Clarity report. That's how we've been able to maintain that high user score, but we'll continue to monitor each page. If any commissioners or any staff sees a page where there might be some missing information or you think it's clunky or anything like that, please reach out to me. Shout out to Commissioner Barber. Did exactly that, and we were able to modify a page and update its information and hopefully its readability and accessibility. AudioEye remains a very valuable tool, and I'm grateful that the board moved to put that on our site, especially with the Title II ADA deadline approaching April 24th. So in April of 2024, the Title II changes were announced. Basically, the Department of Justice adopted a new version of the WCAG, which is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And if you are a government entity, state and local, and you serve over 50,000 residents, the deadline to fall into compliance for your website is April 24th of this year. If you serve 50,000 or less, it's next year in April. And so AudioEye has allowed us to fall into compliance, and we have great analytics and report data there, and our accessibility score is very, very high. As the vendor has told us, they were surprised that we were able to maintain that, and we're going to try and continue to maintain that. But that final rule has, specific requirements with ADA about how to ensure web content, and whether you have a mobile application or you have a website, are accessible, completely accessible. There are nuances with archived documents, videos, depends on the file type, how old it is, if it's been updated or downloaded X number of times. So I'm doing a little research on exactly what those WCAG changes are. But right now, we have a great score. I'm not worried about it, but we're going to continue to monitor that, those standards, especially now that that deadline is rapidly approaching. Any questions on that?
I don't see any questions.
Another thing I wanted to touch on, that security funding, as you heard last month, and I wasn't here, but we did receive over $400,000 for security upgrades to the courthouse and complex. That is, again, new camera system, more robust cybersecurity measures, and testing that we can do, security bollards at the entrances of every building on the complex, as well as an emergency lock system for the courthouse security and security tent on those windows. I'm working with Director Daly, Director Powers, and have been talking with the court administrator and sheriff's office to determine how we're going to tackle implementation, installation, some training involved with some of those systems, as well as what flexibility we might have from the federal government. A big shout out to Congressman Tom Barrett and his office for dealing with me constantly bugging them through this process, and then also Senator Slotkin and Peters for carrying it through at the Senate side. But there might be some flexibility with what we can do with some of that money. We don't have the grant parameters yet. Every time I ask, they're kind of like, just wait, we'll figure it out. So stay tuned on that, but I'm happy that our federal partners were able to get us some funding. On that same note, on the state side, I have been working with some state reps on potential funding this fiscal year. They reached out to me to target some projects that they're interested in advocating for. And so I've been providing them with information and updates, and I stay tuned. Hopefully I'll have an update next month on what batons they're willing to carry forward for us. But big shout out to them as well for being willing to help Eaton County. Any questions on any of that?
I don't see any.
That actually concludes my report.
All right. Thank you, Logan.
And if I can just add one thing, so we haven't really had an update on the injunction for those work project language pieces, other than the injunction that occurred that put them on hold, right? So they were on hold, and then they were off hold, and they're back on. But that being said, we also haven't received official correspondence from the grant agencies that administer those on our behalf, because we have contracts for these grants, and in them, they're supposed to give like direct communication, letting you know that the grant has been rescinded, and we have not received that. Mainly the two that are big topics for this body is the Bankerner County drain. We were able to successfully get the budget amended on that, because initially it was largely tailored to hard material costs like concrete and piping and stuff like that. And that created a delay in us being able, so we were able to amend our contract as of December 12th. And they gave our report back for last quarter so that we can submit an amended report through 12/31. We believe we can fully expend that $5 million through that process, so our grant on that should be expended before the beginning of this year. So that's good news. Melissa's been so bogged down with audit, just this huge time suck and demand on our office, the treasurer's office, but that is high up on our priority list so that we wrap that up. The other one is the Fire Training Center. I'm seeking clarification from the agency because initially this was supposed to go right to the Fire Training Committee, and then it came to us, right? We all understand where we're at. Along the way, it is now a reimbursement grant. So originally, the Fire Training Center was under the impression that they could just send the invoices to the state and the state would pay it. And the state is like, no, you have to buy it and pay it, and you seek reimbursement, which puts us in a little bit of a bind because if we're buying an asset that's $500,000 with county money and have to wait for the state to pay us back. So I'm seeking in writing a commitment from the state where that is at, because we are at the point where we could order the facility, and sooner the better, because it's gonna take time to get it fabricated and built before it's delivered to Charlotte. And before they do that, they need to know it's ordered before they invest the time and like placement of the foundation and everything. So I want to thank our partners with the Fire Training Committee. I know this has been agonizing and I wish it moved faster. But once we get clarification on that, I think the risk of buying an asset like that and then potentially not getting reimbursed will come to this body. I'd like Ways and Means to let us know if you want us to take that risk on, because I don't think that should be a decision made through the controller's office. But we will do whatever we're directed to do. But that's where those elements are at as of today.
All right, thank you, Ben. Any questions for Ben? Commissioner Haskell?
With changing how we're going to spend the money for the bank strain, does that mean that there's any changing to the bonding process, or are we solid there?
Yeah, thank goodness, no.
Okay.
But I appreciate the question because this has been the most complicated infrastructure project we've ever had to do because it has federal through ARPA, 5 million in state, and then we bonded with the capital improvement bond for that portion. So, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, and there might be I know there might be opportunity for more grant funding with the project, which just adds more complexity to it. But we're always happy to try to figure out what to do with money if it helps reduce the cost for residents, county entities like Delta Township and ourselves and the road commission. Anyway, so those are good problems to have, but they're complex to manage on our side.
I appreciate you adding that you're still seeking grant money for the ongoing project, so thank you for that.
Yeah, and I would say Representative Whitwer and Anthony are both very aware of the plight of the homes in that district and the impact, and I think Logan will probably talk about that if.
I mean, yeah, that's one of the tentative batons that they're talking about trying to continue to strive for getting funding for. We don't know what that will look like. And I will also, just on this same topic, give a shout out to Rep. Whitwer and her staff in helping us with some of the nuances with getting the amendment and for the Bank Intercounty Drain funding. They flexed some muscle for us and we had immediate results, and we just wanted to shout that out.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because we put in a budget amendment request in December, and as of February, hadn't heard anything. And then all of a sudden, it was approved back to December 12th. It's like, thank you. So, yeah. Yep.
Okay. Commissioner Wright?
So on the fire training academy, are we going to be waiting then until we get that letter back from the state that says, yes, you can expend the money and we'll give it back to you? I mean, an agreement?
At this point, if I get a response back saying, yes, you can submit, no, you don't have to wait for the delivery of the facility to submit. Because what I would prefer is our money goes out, we get a confirmation of goods purchased. If we can submit that and then they start the reimbursement process, that's essentially what I would bring next month to say
Okay.
this. And we still haven't received a notice of a rescindment of that grant. So it may be one of those pieces where we just have to say, we have a contract, we have a grant, you authorized us, we did it. If you don't pay us, we may have to sue over it, but the county really needs this fire training committee, the committee really needs this facility for all our firefighters. The one in Delta Township does a lot of partnership with LCC, so the availability of that is sometimes not as much as fire chiefs would like, so having a communal resource at the center of the county really is ideal. Commissioner Shaver could probably talk about that a lot more than me, but so yeah, to answer your question, we'll have that laid out so you all can do an assessment of it next month.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Moudry?
Ben, could you please keep me in the loop with the bank drain updates? Because I've got people,
No,
okay? So if you would just shoot me an email and just let me know what's going on in that process, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, and I would say the hard part here is until we have money and then a delivery method, it's very difficult to, because you don't want to give somebody hope that there's relief coming if it's not coming. But
Exactly.
I will absolutely let you know kind of the tentative pieces, but as soon as there's good news, we will make sure you're empowered to shout it from the mountaintops.
Okay, because I got a
Even if it's only $500 off, I mean, that helps when it's a
drain
$32,000
meeting.
assessment.
I got a drain meeting Wednesday, so,
Okay,
thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions? All right, moving forward. Item number 12, Deputy Administrator, Human Resources Director. Ben, we haven't heard from you this morning.
Hey. Sorry, my laptop timed out. We'll start out with the positions update. We currently have 16 positions posted online. We had 9 positions that were filled this month. and 7 separations, terminations, or resignations, just 7 events. Our ratio of open to filled, we currently have a vacancy ratio of 10.54, which is lower than our 6-month average and our 12-month average, which were closer to about 14%. So we've been making improvements in terms of the amount of folks that we're able to retain and attract. For the sheriff's department, we had 1 deputy resign and then actually 1 who returned, so that's also great news. Again, we're attracting some of the people that left or recently left to come back. So that's like a net neutral change there, and there's at least 1 person in the academy at this time. I believe the shift of like where the vacancies rest, I believe Delta has 3 openings, 1 is a detective, and then there's 4 through the county command central. And that's the breakdown of the vacancies there. We had the adjustments with the public defender's office, so we've approved those temporary employment contracts. You see that identified there. Let me see. The only thing that needs authorized is the paralegal position, so look for a motion to recommend that we refill that paralegal position.
Anything we should know about that position before we have a motion?
Matt already has somebody who's ready to jump into the hot seat, so if you authorize it, we'll fill it ASAP.
All right,
So moved.
moved and supported. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, that's 1 down.
Woohoo. Next is you get to hear from the Gray Suit Troop. If Treasurer Raynette wants to come to the podium, we can do this together. So sorry. It just came out of me. I don't know.
Well, hello again. I have a reorganization request for my office. I'll briefly read the letter. Members of the Ways and Means Committee, I am writing to request your support for the restructuring of the Eaton County Treasurer's Office. These positions are at this committee for review from a policy standpoint. Approval here will allow for review by the consultant. It is my opinion that these positions are essential to ensuring the continued success of the Eaton County Treasurer's Office. The proposed restructuring will provide adequate ability for the department to staff effectively and efficiently perform all assigned duties. The foreclosure coordinator / land bank specialist, a full-time position, is an essential role in the future success of the Eaton County. This position will allow for continued monitoring of state statutes, past and present court cases, the continuous work with Eaton County residents to assist with foreclosure prevention, a staff member to assist with land bank requests, and additional support to the Eaton County Treasurer. Drain Coordinator, Senior Deputy Treasurer 3, a full-time position, provides a staff person in the Treasurer's Office to perform necessary duties of the Eaton County Drain Office. This role is imperative for the success of the Treasurer's Office and the Drain Office. This position will be responsible for many duties for the Treasurer's Office and the Drain Office with strict structure to an with a strict structure outlining a timeline for all required duties. After many statutory changes, continued court cases, and continued coordination with other departments and agencies, the designation of the duties described is essential. I urge the committee to support the proposed restructuring before you today to ensure the continued success of Eaton County's Treasurer's Office. Thank you for your consideration. And also on the next page, there is an organizational chart of what we are currently and what is proposed. And I want to describe our office briefly as far as our staff. We have a staff of 5, a chief deputy treasurer, and 3 deputies, 1, 2, and 3, and then the foreclosure coordinator / land bank specialist. And what this reorganization seeks to do is first to ensure that we have redundancy and continuity of services, and also to revise 2 positions that have, their duties have expanded. That is the Deputy Treasurer 3 that's working with the drains, and in particular, the foreclosure / land bank specialist. On the proposed chart, we're actually breaking out the foreclosure specialist, indicating that it's directly under the Treasurer's office, because they work with the foreclosure fund, separate fund from the general fund, and also the land bank. I'd say about 60% of my time is working with things related to foreclosure or the land bank. And then we also have a dotted line, because in the absence of the treasurer and the chief deputy, the foreclosure specialist would have some supervisor authority, like approving time or something like that. So to talk briefly about the 2 positions, well, we want to ensure that we have enough staff to meet people coming in or respond to phone calls and things like that, but also enough staff to meet some internal control policies like segregation of duties, that we have, if someone's gone, that we have a backup. But also for the drain coordinator, because of our relationship or the work that we're doing with the drain office, that has become more complicated, and we need something to fortify that, but also the role of the foreclosure land bank specialist, that has really increased. As I mentioned a while ago, they have an integral role dealing with foreclosures. And it's not, and they have a lot of contact with the public, not just taking a payment, but actually sitting down, working out a payment plan, putting them in contact with our community service partners. And as I said, with these potential grants that may be coming, that might expand. Also, when the land bank was started back in 2019, there was not an additional staff person. We're not looking for that, but those roles were kind of given or added on to foreclosure specialist. And that, as with foreclosure, the land bank program is experiencing growth or a lot of activity as of late. So earlier I mentioned that in the achievements the past year, we switched places. We moved with the clerk's office. We developed a borrowing policy and other things like that. So I think my office has had a spirit of, I would say, cooperation and accommodation. So with that, I would hope that the board would see the need for this reorganization and support this request.
All right. Thank you, Darius. Any questions? Commissioner Moudry?
Treasurer, according to the flow chart here, the chief deputy treasurer has nothing to do with the foreclosure coordinator. Is that true?
Well, there'll still be some oversight in the case that there would be, I wouldn't say nothing to do, but they're kind of independent. Yeah, I mean, the chief deputy is aware of the foreclosure proceeds and things like that, less so on the land bank, but yeah, that's largely separate from each other, but they both report to me, rather to the treasurer's office.
Okay.
You know, and I'll share on this too, is this is somewhat similar to what we did with the clerk's office, where we have an election administrator, and we kind of moved elections as its own independent wing, and so the chief deputy in that scenario oversees operations over here. But when you have a highly specific, like legally and like statutorily complex element, you kind of isolate it so that you have your go-to person. So really the main backup here, if something were to happen, quite honestly, is Treasurer Raynette, and having that, and people like attorneys and et cetera that they work with on a regular basis if there was ever like a redundancy issue. But there's a lot of collaboration. So for instance, the reason we added this dotted line, and as you go through the job descriptions, you see, even though the foreclosure and land bank specialist is there, they also back up all the other operations within. In this model, the idea is it's the chief deputy treasurer and then kind of the foreclosure coordinator all together. So I don't know, or is your thought that you think there should be maybe still under the purview of the chief deputy treasurer, or you might just wanted us to talk through why it was set up that way?
Since this is the first time I've seen this, okay, my impression is that somebody is cut out of the loop here. And I just want to know if, you know, Ben, if you're good with this.
Yeah, so I would say one thing that we, this has been really good. So a similar reclass request came through and it ended up being like very contentious, and this was, gosh, like last year, I want to say, or the year before. And that one, cooperation is a really good way of describing it. So I met with Raynette, with Treasurer Raynette and Deputy Paul, and we went through this, I think 6 or 7 times. So absolutely, this is a good example of like a collaborative effort to make sure that the model works for the entire office, and it's in line with what we're looking for with our reclassification or restructuring processes. I think this is kind of codifying how things are right now. So the treasurer has become very reliant on this structure. But previously, that was not, it was kind of done on its own and our office was out of it. Otherwise, we probably would have recommended this cohesive model that you see before you. So very good with it. Yeah.
I just want to address the supervisory. The chief deputy is the supervisor. So if there's time off or anything going on in the office, the chief deputy is going to do that. But in terms of the foreclosure coordinator, that position really needs to answer to the treasurer, given the fact that that is his responsibility. So that's why you see the hierarchy the way that it is. But the chief deputy works with all of the staff in the office. So there is that level of supervisory, but not action in terms of foreclosure and land bank.
So this is not a spontaneous type decision. You've seen this situation coming down the road.
Yes.
Yes, as Ben has said, we've been working on this since December, looking at or writing each position description.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Haskell.
Yeah, I've always loved the idea of having more dedicated support, specifically in the realm of foreclosures. My question is, looking at this reclassification for budget-related issues, does this affect our budget that goes in for staffing?
Very likely, yeah. So what we would be doing today is getting authorization to send the updated descriptions to our third-party consultant, who would then come back and say, we previously paid this at a grade 6, we think it should be a 7, or, yeah. So then we come
Likely some
back.
sort of step increase there or something?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. So once we get that feedback from our third-party consultant, we'd come back and say, this would be the budget amendment. I believe Treasurer Raynette's talked about, he may have some administrative money related to the foreclosure fund and et cetera that may be able to help in supporting some of that, but administrative revenue, yeah,
Well, it's covered under the fund.
yeah, yeah.
The administrative revenue could be a relief that the treasurer could use for any general fund costs. But realistically, the positions that are listed to the left, the chief deputy, the drain coordinator, the deputy treasurers 1 and 2, those are general funded positions.
Sure.
So, I mean, but there is admin and the delinquent tax fund that can be used. But again, foreclosure, the increase that would go to that position, you won't see. It's not a budgeted fund, it's just a revenue expense fund, but that position has always been fully funded.
Okay. And then for the foreclosure coordinator position, I'm assuming this is specifically with tax foreclosures, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you said this would help them, free them up to maybe help refer them out to third-party organs. Do you ever have any like mortgage foreclosure assistance or requests for assistance or referrals from there?
Yes, there were state programs for that, none recently, and this position had dealt with those programs. They were familiar with them. They had ceased by the time I came on
Okay.
last year.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think, I would have been in the legislature in 13 and 14 when some of those foreclosures were lagging behind. And there was a lot of referrals that were coming in and out of both of the legislative offices and then referred over to here as well. So if this helps free up somebody to maybe in the eventuality help be that extra resource outside of tax foreclosures too, I think that's beneficial to the community.
Commissioner Shaver.
Thank you. I think you mostly asked what I was going to ask, and I think you guys mostly answered it. So, but I just want to make certain that I understand, that this is moved today, which is, I think, is what's being asked for. That's gonna, it's gonna come back. There's gonna be like research, and there'll be numbers, and we would know how those items were going to be paid for before it was finalized.
Correct. Today is just given us essentially about $600 per position to send it to have it evaluated, and then we bring that evaluation back. The two, I would anticipate an increase based on the changes, just I would imagine probably the foreclosure and the one, and this isn't a new position, we're just giving the designation of drain coordinator. And this is in part relief for our office too. We just need somebody at the county that can make sure parts of this work is getting done. So if it wasn't in treasurer's office, it would need to be in our office or vice versa. And we will still do a lot of drain work in our office, but it's essentially gives the capacity and structure to be like, if you're gonna be responsible for drain data entry and then like recording transactions from a cash standpoint, we want you really good at that because we need it for audit compliance.
No, I completely understand. I just wanted to, for the public as well, to understand that we're not taking this lightly if it is being treated with any general fund dollars.
Yep.
But I support, and as well as I think many others do, our elected departments,
Required.
organizing the way that they see most fit. Thank you.
Yeah, so if moved today, when we bring it back, we would show the dollar change as proposed by the review the consultant made. And then you would adopt that or push that to the board. And
I'd make that
actually, it
motion.
would just be a Ways and Means decision.
I'd make that motion.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Further discussion, Commissioner Haskell.
Yeah, just one more quick one. You brought up the drain coordinator specifically. Is this something that is supposed to be done by the treasurer's office or just has to be done by the treasurer's office
So
because
there
of our
are
unique
elements-
positions?
There are elements, and I think we've had this discussion with Marcus as well. There's work currently being done at the treasurer's office that not all counties are structured that way. It's technically some functions that could and should typically rest. However, under a long-standing arrangement, it's just been the entry's been done by the treasurer's office. So the way we've looked at treating this, because if for some reason that work went back to the drain office, we would just say, you're not getting a pay cut, and you're now back to a deputy treasurer 3, and eventually the pay scale would catch back up to that person. So that would be our transition plan if that were to shift back.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is like, okay, well, what if there's a leadership change over in the drain office and they want that work back?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the only responsible way to do it, but in acknowledgement, the work is where it is and it's being done, and we
Yeah,
figured.
whoever's doing the work now deserves to be, recognized for it. I'm 100% behind that. I foresee problems in the future, but, all right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? All right, so this is forwarded on to now, basically evaluation, correct?
Okay. Connie's advising me to stop talking because it's past 10:01.
Well, thank you very much. Board.
That's an inside joke. Okay, I get you, yes.
Again, thank you for your
Let's see, I don't want to hear from Ben ever again. Oh, wait, we have to.
It's a pleasure and a privilege. right?
So, item C, on-call policy.
Okay, we have tech services here. You guys don't have to speak, but, there are a number of departments and groups that would be impacted by this, and we've kind of given you the heads up this was coming as we've been working on it over the past few months. This is a fiscal policy, we're asking for adoption or recommending administration is, currently, we do not have an exempt employee on-call policy. So most union contracts and folks that qualify for overtime, if they're called into work or they have to work on a weekend or holiday, there's a provision that gives them premium pay for that. This would be very focused on just exempt employees, typically at the director level for the departments that are assigned. So the way it works is you'd have a framework where you give like one spot for a department, and that means that every week there'll be a designated point of contact. Using our office as an example, so controller's office is in here as one. If I'm on vacation, whoever my deputy is, if they're the person on call, you commissioners would know like, oh, this is the week to call so-and-so and not call, Ben if I'm tanning somewhere. I don't know. Most of my vacations are in Montana, so there's not a lot of tanning involved, but just to give you an example, using tech services, right, so they have a lot of on-call work that they have to do with the support they provide to fire, EMS, and public safety and 24/7. Same with 911, so it would just give you very clear delineation of who's the go-to. So there's two pieces for it. One is our jobs have changed since 2014 dramatically. It's possible if we do a salary study and then reset everybody's compensation to the market value of what that work is, the board at that time might say, let's fold this back into the position because we're now paying at a market rate. But as of today, compensation for these groups hasn't caught up with the fact how connected they have to be and how integrated technology is in the demands of their office. So that's kind of the background of what generated discussions with these policies. From a structure standpoint, we used an Ingham County model. This is not the Ingham County rate, so I can tell you we chose a rate that we thought was, one, prudent and responsible for where we're at economically. Obviously, structurally, that's what it is, but it's I think the best we can do today and be responsible. So it goes through eligible departments, electeds. There's a temporary emergency designation. This language mirrors language that we're looking at in the purchasing work group, and it just kind of sets the parameters. What this would be is like we had that really bad straight windstorm in August of '23. So for that week, Controller Sobey would have had the ability to say, Chris Garrison and Construction Code, you're out there checking people's structures for damages, and we need you to do that as quickly as possible, and you're gonna be on call because someone might not realize their well house got hit or something, right? So in that case, this would give the authorization to give that designation for that period of time. But if it's gonna exceed more than 2 weeks, then it would be rolled up to the board for consideration and authorization. The departments and the cost for it are broken down on tables 1 and 2. We'd be looking at a standard rate of $300 a week. And then if it's a week with a holiday, it's a single holiday, it would be $400. If it's a week with a double holiday, like Thanksgiving, New Year's Eve, and Christmas, those would be $500. And then internally, the department would essentially just come up with that schedule so that they're making sure who's doing that work and getting compensated for it.
Okay. Any questions? So that we won't see a change in our operation, but this will make it more seamless and consistent.
My hope would be some of our directors get better vacation time, to be honest. And I know that sounds like someone might scoff at that, but quite honestly, these are people that you want sharp and able to respond quickly and effectively. So that would be my hope, but correct. It's structurally, it's just, I think, a better allocation of time or resources to give a little relief.
Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Shaver?
Yeah, thank you. I think this is prudent and right. Can you just help me understand, like, paying for this? Does this come from already budgeted funds in the department, and that this is a policy for that? Or will there be a budget amendment that will be required because of it?
There would be a budget amendment required, and I did a little thing over to the side. So a portion would be paid with millage funds, estimated at 29.9% of the total cost. And then with the admin revenue we've been collecting from contractual services, estimate that we would be paying 34.5% with that admin revenue. So that would leave 43.6, which would be additional general fund. We'd lay that out in the budget amendment, but just giving you a sense of how we would be looking to fund it.
Do you have an estimation on that 43.6, what that dollar amount could be? Roughly? Hopefully I'm not putting you on the spot.
Oh, I've got it, although Melissa's got it too, so we'll race and see who gets to the spreadsheet first. Go for it. Oh, yeah, go for it.
So looking at this right now, apparently approximately $65,000 would be the budget amendment that would be requested for the general fund dollars. There is some special revenue funds from the millage dollars that would be requested. And if you move this policy, I would suggest we also move the budget amendment on that to the full board.
I would agree.
Any other questions? Commissioner Haskell?
What millages are referenced for that 21.9%?
So it would be the central dispatch millage specifically, and then also it would impact the
Juvenile millage.
juvenile millage, but in a sideways,
Because it's a
because the juvenile millage supports the youth facility.
Understood. Okay, so those are two more millages, right, that are coming up due. So again, if we take on this policy, which I think is a good policy, but we fail those millages, that's more risk to the general fund later. Just FYI. I will move this. I shut off my mic in the middle of talking. I will move this policy along with the appropriate budget amendment.
Support, moved and supported. Any further discussion?
I'll just add, though, that you're right. If we have a problem with those millages, we might have to revisit some of the things that we've given and approved. And we don't have the foresight at this time to know how our millages are going to go.
Handedly, I mean, it would be, in that scenario, another budget year. I won't say as difficult. It will be another very difficult budget year and restructuring of expenses that would impact everyone, especially like the dispatch. I mean, just as an example, they cover radios and technology that go in every EMS and every fire truck and every police vehicle in the county. So anyway, so to your point, yeah, this would be on the block as well as a whole nother plethora of things, and communities would then have to grapple with what does that mean for them if the county is no longer in a position to hold those costs. Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Shaver?
Does it make any sense then to defer the start date to the budget year then?
In my opinion, no. I honestly, the opposite. I would request this back to January 1st because where we're at now, we have exhausted staff. I'd like to run as if this is how we want to run our programs so that they are peak efficiency and peak optimization, and then deal with the other pieces if we have to. I would say the 154,000, and that's 75% of that because we're already a quarter into our fiscal year, right? The difference between that and September won't make a huge difference if both of those millages fail. The decisions you'll have to make will be steep. So it will, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? All right. Moving on to item D, sick leave. Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This also pertains to personnel. You know, when we were going over the millages and stuff, we were talking about problems we were going to face with personnel and staffing and being overstressed. And so we were going to have to come up with some creative ways to try to keep staff. And I think this proposal that I'm submitting today might help do that. This is a regard to personnel rules and our payout and earned sick leave upon retirement and death section. And I think what this would do, what I'm proposing, is to amend one section today to include an incentive to retain the employees. Currently, our employees with 25 years of full-time service are paid 50% of their unused sick days in a lump sum upon retirement. I'd like to consider an amendment that would add a provision for employees with 30 or more years of full-time service to be paid 100% of their unused sick time upon retirement. And what I think this would do, and this would go to all the eligible non-union employees, but if this were to pass and be adopted, then staff would reach out to the union members as well and offer it to them. So I think this would help with our retention issues. We got a lot of staff or departments that I think we're going to be coming up on, 25 years. And this is a way to help keep some of those employees that have dedicated their time here. And if they've had that a lot of built up sick leave time, it just tells you that they're dedicated and they've been working here. And I think that'd be a good way to incentivize and reward those employees. So I know Ben and Melissa have also been working on this to generate some numbers for you. I think we've talked about there's going to be over the next 2 years a possibility of 6 people that would have the opportunity to take advantage of this if we pass this.
Yeah, and I think Melissa did the math. It's what, 189 years of institutional knowledge represented?
The 6 employees, as of right now, have a combined 189 years of experience with the county. That institutional knowledge is absolutely vital to our continued operations, and if we can in some way incentivize them to stay or thank them for their service, we absolutely should be doing that.
Any questions or comments? Commissioner Barber.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. If to move this policy, I think it needs to be looked at more of a longevity, right? So I'm against going from 25 at 50% to 30 at 100%. I think the only possible way to do it would be is a 10% per year after 25, right? So you hit 25, you get 50. If we can encourage you to stay until 26, you would get 60, right? Ultimately encouraging them to stay for the 30. And I want to stress that I'm only for critical positions, right? I mean, the sheriff's department, we've seen many sheriff's deputies hit that 25 mark and then drop off. And in today's environment, it's become very, this board knows, it's become very difficult in which to find or hire sheriff's deputies in which we can bring full coverage back to the county. So that's the only way I would support this, is if we went like that. So, thank you.
So your proposal is to amend this to include a gradient level of 10% additional per year after 25?
Right, if I'm hearing correctly.
Well, you didn't hear correctly, because I didn't make a motion. But yes,
no,
that's
your
what I said.
proposal.
The only way I would support it would be is if we went 10% increments per year after 25, up to 30 years, equaling 100%, yes.
All right.
I think there's a lot of value in that you might have somebody with 25 years who's looking at that and be like, I'm not even gonna stick around because there's no way, I know I'm not gonna make 5 years, but maybe they can do 1 or 2. So it might create like more of an incentive to stick around and see if they wanna make it to the 5. I'd say the other piece to keep in mind is our policy right now is if you accumulate 500 hours once a year, any accrual above that pays out annually. So when we look at this in terms of like risk scope, we always keep our employees around 500. But in order for an employee to get to 500, that is 6 years of service of perfect attendance. So the fact you even have an employee that has that much sum of time is really remarkable, you know, with everything that folks have to deal with medical appointments and their own health and whatnot. So I think the risk from a financial standpoint is low, but the incentive there to attract and retain people, especially like in positions you're talking about, the retirees health benefit, which is a closed group benefit, but that is a whole cohort that has an incentive to leave at 25 years because they get their retirees health and they can leave with the pension as well. So this would be with our longevity program, which goes up to, I think, 35 years. And then this would be another incentive to hopefully retain some of that talent.
Chairman Mott.
Just for clarification, so that the limit of accrued leave time is 500, is that correct, 500 hours?
Yeah, so coming in, so if I'm a retiring employee.
The changes in ESTA, the accrued sick leave that changed last year, there is no maximum on accrued sick leave. However, the county's policy has been that every December we pay back down to 500 hours for employees. Employees who are eligible do have to sign stating that they are aware of this and agree to the disbursement of these funds. But anything over 500 hours is paid out annually to reduce that liability. So anything above 500 hours accrues additionally as we go throughout the year, but we do not typically have any employees who end up with over 583 hours per year.
Yeah, so that would be a good provision to put in there, is that limit it, the 100% to 580 hours, just because based on how we do those annual payouts, that would just keep it to a 1-year period. We will have to negotiate those Earned Sick Leave Time Act provisions into all of our union contracts when they expire in '27. So right now, those are grandfathered, but when we open those contracts back up, the unions will have a choice to say, we don't want to get paid out annually for it, so we'll have to negotiate that. But it's a pretty, I'm hoping that most of them see the value in keeping it like that. I know our non-union staff were really appreciative that they were able to keep it, so we pretty much had everybody sign up to continue on that structure.
Okay. Commissioner Shaver.
Assistant Controller Dawson, is there a way that we can limit that to those most critical positions like Commissioner Barber was recommending, or is this blanket to the whole county?
Yeah, you could certainly make that motion and have that part of it. My administrative recommendation would be uniformity, because it is a small segment of people. So in the next, we have 6 people that this could potentially attract to stay back. One of them is in the sheriff's office, but they're in other areas. And we've had a talent drain that's impacted not just the controller's office, like the treasurer's office, the drain office. So I would say, because we have so many people near retirement age, that it would be better for all groups. But I certainly understand the idea. Yeah.
Mr. Haskell.
Yeah, I like the idea of the gradient. Anything to keep that carrot to move on to the next year. However, I think I would oppose any sort of motion or idea that it should be limited to specific professions or scope. I mean, we've already talked about restructuring the treasurer's office because we need to maintain, the proper skill sets in the proper locations and recognize the work that someone's doing there. If it's important enough to look at each individual department and say, hey, this needs to be restructured to recognize this work, I think it's also important enough to say that when those individuals are getting to their retirement age, they deserve to be recognized for the institutional knowledge that they have and the impact that the county will feel if they leave as well. So I love the gradient idea, and I understand needing to look specifically into the positions that we historically have had trouble filling, but I don't think this is where we do that at.
Okay, any other comments? Commissioner Holmes?
If I'm thinking right, a person that is building up this sick and leave time, wouldn't they be more inclined to take it during their employment so they get the full amount, not 50% or the gradient on up? Seemed like to me I would be looking each year, if I pass it up for this year, after the 25 years, that's going to be less than what it would be if I took it in that year that I worked. So I'm not thinking a lot of people are going to build up a lot of time to make as much impact as we might kind of anticipate. Overall, there'd be some, obviously.
Yeah, so for the group that's committed enough to stay that long, a lot of times they tend to have a better leave balance than, but to your point right now, there are a lot of groups that will never see 500 hours of a balance. It just won't happen. In HR, you call it, you earn it and burn it bunch, right? Where they get 4 hours and it's like money in their pocket and they just gotta get it out as quick as they can. And we always recommend keep at least 40 to 80, because you never know what life is gonna give. And we do have a short-term disability policy, but you have to supplement that, so it's to the detriment of the employees. But to your point, if an employee's looking at our current model and they're like, I know I'm gonna go in a year, I don't want a 50% payout, they may end up being sick. And sometimes that just happens naturally too, because people encounter a variety of health conditions that start after 40, between 40 and 60, that's where most people kind of learn what their path into retirement's going to look like in terms of medical obligations. So I like what you're saying, and I do agree. If you took the 100%, it might take the carrot off people feeling like they should burn it before they retire, because there's another way to get 100% of the value.
So what would be the disqualifier for this policy?
We have in our annual leave that if somebody's fired for gross negligence or an egregious, that that we can withhold. So you could do something like that, but this is through retirement is how the payout is worded, and that's typically those are pretty positive separation events. But yeah, somebody would have to retire, and yeah. So I don't know if you need to have a disqualifier.
Well, I mean, if you come into your 25th year and you don't have 500 hours built up, so you wouldn't qualify for this policy.
Oh, I see. It would be just, say I come in and I've been a good strong attendance, but not like a 500-hour strong, I'd still get the 50% payout of my 200 hours.
Okay.
Or if I stayed for using the model you're talking about with the graduated scale, if I make 26 years in one day, I'd get 60% of my 200 hours. And got to add the 1 day, because Melissa will kill me if we prorate it by day in the midst. So it would be.
Hypothetically, it's possible we would only use this policy once or twice.
Yeah. Hope would be we use it 6, but once or twice.
Okay. That one or two people could be beneficial. Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I just want to let the committee know that I did not make a motion. Someone said that amend your motion. I'm not on this committee, so whatever. This was just to be thrown out there for discussion for you to come up with your own, motion. So.
I'll make the motion to adopt the policy as described with, by Chairman Mott, with the gradient for the last 5 years.
Moved and supported. Any other discussion? Okay, what kind of implementation date are we looking at here?
We would, if this moves, we'll put it together for the full board so that it could get adopted next week, including a budget amendment, and it'd be effective as of 18th February.
Okay. All right, any other discussion, questions, comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? And I should have asked, does this qualify for a roll call vote? Apparently not.
I don't think it needs to, but I think a member can always request it if
All right.
you guys want.
Okay. Well, that includes Deputy Dawson's report at this point. So moving on to Finance Director Melissa.
Good morning. So I would like to just be brief today because I do have audit work to get back to. So your financial report this month approximately represents a quarter of the budget. We continue to be on pace with where we budgeted. And you'll notice that there were substantial reductions compared to prior year, $1 million worth of revenue as well as $2 million worth of expenses. That is the result of the changes that you made for the budget. So if there are any questions, okay, then I will move on to our health insurance report. And I will note that the current figures that are included here do not have any quarterly settlement data. This is through December, and I anticipate I will have the quarterly settlement in the next couple of weeks. So I will include that for next month's report. Are there any questions?
Questions for Melissa?
Thank you. That concludes my reports then.
Thank you. This is very brief and concise. Thank you. Moving on to item 14, Facilities Management Director Chad. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I'll be relatively brief today, too. Kind of a continuation of last month's report. I think we're getting over the hump with the snow removal and salting. And in case you haven't heard, there's a salt shortage. So we are lucky that we were able to buy ours in bulk in the summertime. With the big storms down south, they consumed a lot of our salt that we normally have stockpiled. So even the road commission is running low. So just a little update on that. I reported last month we were, this is the time of year we're doing our annual inspections. We've completed our fire alarms, or I should say partially completed. We've done 3 of the buildings, our elevator inspections and our sprinkler inspections. All are complete with boiler, generators, and our kitchen hoods that will be upcoming. I've been interviewing project managers, construction firm project managers for some of the facilities projects that we have coming up, as well as parks projects. Of course, we've been completing our internal and preventive maintenance projects. And then, as Logan mentioned, with the courthouse security grant funding from the federal level, we met yesterday with our courthouse security committee, which is quarterly, Amy? I think it's quarterly. We that's organized by the court administrator, where all of the stakeholders get together and we kind of discuss any issues we've had and how to make this building more secure. Obviously, I've said before that this was built 50 years ago, and the world's changed quite a bit in 50 years from a security necessity standpoint. So once we are awarded that funding and have that, there'll be a lot of things put in place to kind of mitigate some of those security risks. And also part of that, the capital improvement plan, which I had laid out, is the door monitoring system, which I've been, we're looking at different software options that will help that. We have a very old and antiquated system now that when the buildings are secure, we need to have good equipment that if somebody tries to tamper with the doors, it lets us know accurately. And so that directly involves technology services and central dispatch to make sure everything integrates with their systems. And then, of course, working on the 26-27 budget that will be upcoming and due to the controller's office at the end of March. And then finally, I just wanted to kind of give a shout out and some of the behind the scenes stuff that happens with how obviously there were some big changes in the public defender's office. So that came down on a Friday and we were notified of the changes, and with both my team and technology services, you can imagine different employee access, onboarding, offboarding. When Matt restructured his office, different office needs, furniture, so those types of things kind of go unnoticed, but I wanted to kind of give you guys a heads up and just how that kind of goes sometimes. And then we took the opportunity with some of the vacant offices to do some of our maintenance, patch walls, paint, stuff like that. So a big collaboration effort from not only the controller's office, but also my team and technology services. So that's all I have today. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Questions for Chad? Oh, Commissioner Moudry.
I know I'm short.
Yes.
Chad, what is the situation with the elevators? Where are we at?
So that is part of the, I'm working with a construction management firm to manage that project. So then we'll be going out for bid and RFP with the elevator contractors. So I'm hoping that, it should be, I'll be ready to bring a recommendation here in the next month or two, and then we'll get rolling on that.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'd just like to bring something up if we could. At the security meeting that we had yesterday, one of the topics that came up was to get additional AEDs throughout the courthouse here, and to have those match the requirements, and I won't say this right, and I know Francis is here from dispatch, but requirements and what is used in Charlotte at the Eaton area ambulance. So for a response to the courthouse, if they're used, we have one at the youth facility that's an updated AED. I would like to request, and just because Chad brought it up, I'll bring it up right now, that the capital improvement fund be used to purchase these AEDs. It'd be about $2,500 a piece. They're looking at 3. That's what was discussed through the Sheriff's Department and the committee yesterday. And then the youth facility has trainers that could do the training on those as well as CPR, because we really need to have people that are certified in CPR down each hallway in offices on different floors. So I would like to see that happen, if we could do that.
For that?
A motion would be great. It doesn't require a budget amendment, just use of those funds.
I will make that motion.
Okay, moved and supported. Any other discussion or questions? Chad, do you need to address that at all?
I would just say to the rest of the committee, being a first responder and having done CPR solo multiple times, the AED is it's not a secret, but it's that ingredient that actually gives you the ability to save a life if that's possible. And having that immediately available, Francis, to your point, could probably give better statistics than I can, but I understand firsthand the need for that and the training for that. So I think as soon as that could be done, it would be advantageous to all of the employees and guests that come here to the courthouse. Thank you.
I would only add to Connie's point. So typically, they're purchased and installed by our department, and then the sheriff's, the security deputies monitor when the batteries need to be changed or renewed. So they keep and I discussed that with them, and they'll continue to monitor these additional 3. So that's how that kind of works. And then they notify me, hey, this one's due to be replaced, and then we you know, because they expire, they have an expiration. They're not indefinitely, you know, valid, I guess, so.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, the glare over there is killing me this morning, so if you got a question or comment, wave your hand. All right, so that's a proposal. It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? All right, thank you, Nicole. Yeah. All right, motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition?
Part of our grant funding for the government, federal government is security tenting, so we're gonna hope to alleviate some of this stuff very soon.
Well, when we move this to an underground bunker, that'll change too, so. Right?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, with the support of the board on next Wednesday, we'll get those ordered and ready to go.
Okay.
It wouldn't need
Don't need
board
that?
if they,
Board-
yeah,
so-
because there's money within the budget and they're not over a dollar amount threshold. So if
All right.
Francis said he would look into those and you guys can get the quotes, get those ordered and you get them installed and the sheriff's department can do their thing, it'd be great.
Very good. And
That'll make me
also,
happy, my parting gift.
Ryan Wilkinson, our emergency manager, he maps out the whole complex, so it'll show the locations on that. We'll update that map. It also has our fire extinguishers and everything is for when responders arrive, they have that ability to use that mapping, so.
All right.
That's all I have today.
Chad.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll take a 10-minute recess. And we will reconvene at 11:05 roughly.
There are none.
There are none? Well, that was quick and easy. Want to say it twice, just so you get.
All right, we met with the purchasing work group this month. It was a very productive meeting that had gotten delayed for a couple months, so I was really happy with the amount of progress we made. So we'll continue that work, but hopefully that will translate to a draft policy coming before this body, then being referred to Ways and Means. I'm hoping before May, if I want to speak those words into existence. So the other policy, unfortunately, is deadlocked in our office. With me, the personnel rules update, so I still need to get that out to our executive team, but we've just had a lot going on the last month or so. But that is still top of my list, so we can amend those personnel rules that haven't been amended since 2022. So let's see, other policies.
Oh, I just want to say that I have a nice list that I've put together of policies that I think the county should do. So there's work to be done. I'm just going to add work. I'll share it with a couple of you so that you can keep prodding them. No.
And by that,
If
she's
Brandon
joking.
wasn't-
She's going to share it with all of you, not just a couple. No. But I agree. We
I have one too.
and Logan's got one too.
Okay, go ahead.
So I just wanted to update, a couple commissioners had asked about the AI policy. Director Daly and I are diligently working and trying to coordinate our schedules to deep dive into what this actually looks like. For us, the big struggle is trying to determine, what can we administer versus what is just a waypoint from this body in terms of, so it's probably going to be a structured AI policy and tier it, kind of like we did with the purchasing policy initially. So I just wanted to give that update because I was asked about it. We are working on it. It's just been a little tricky to coordinate our schedules as well as agree on what should be in it exactly. But we'll both jointly present that to this body hopefully next month, a version of it.
Any questions for Ben or Logan? Or Connie, for that matter?
I'll just say something. This is exciting to me. Not that, well, this is my last Ways and Means. That's not what's exciting. Maybe. No, I have never, since I became the deputy administrator, I have never missed a Ways and Means committee meeting. And that goes through all the budgets that we've done, any special meetings. The only time that I missed anything was a board meeting, and we'll leave it at that. I talked to Jim the night before, and I said, I think we should just call in sick. And then I actually ended up being sick, like one of the only times. So anyway, I've never missed one of these. This is my favorite. Part of the job is all of the work that gets done through the committees that go to the board. So exciting for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. All right, moving on to, we're skipping over 17. Item 18, miscellaneous. Is there any miscellaneous? All right. Item 19, county bills procurement. I suppose we should be paying our bills, correct?
Move to pay the bills.
There we go. Moved and supported. Any discussion? Commissioner Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to need some assistance from the admin, right? I want to talk, there's a couple, well, there was one issue in the bills that I want to bring up, but we're going to have to walk down this trail here a little bit, right? So for the Drain Commission, they got several funds, right? So, or they have several pots of money, right? So Fund 101 is the general fund. So they pull the money that the Drain Commission gets out of that fund is anything not related to a drain, i.e. personnel costs in the office, other things, and soil erosion, right? Because that's not dedicated to a single drain.
That is correct.
Okay. So next one is Fund 801. It's listed as drain. What is that fund?
That is for drain capital outlay expenses. Those are drain specific, and each account in that is tied to expenses for improvements to drains.
Yeah, so like Brown Drain and the Hobart Drain, all those monies go into that one fund, but you hold a ledger that states X amount goes to this drain, X amount goes to that drain. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, moving on. 802, Drain Revolving Fund. What is that?
So the drain revolving fund houses two items. The first is the advances to other drains. So if a drain does not have enough funding in it, they can borrow from this drain, from the drain revolving fund to pay those invoices temporarily until they can receive their assessment revenue.
So,
The other item in there is yard supplies. So there are, if the drain commissioner can leverage funds and purchase yard supplies at a discount, he can use those funds, purchase yard supplies. They sit in that inventory account until they are used by a specific drain.
okay, so that would be, since drain fees are levied on the December property taxes, right? So if that's, drain maintenance is done during the year, right? That contractor has to be paid prior to the actual drain district being assessed the fees for maintenance, correct?
That is correct.
So that way, a contractor could get paid in time in that calendar year instead of the next year, correct?
Absolutely. We would not want our contractors to be delayed in payments, and we would not want to assess something that we don't know is going to be billed.
Okay, so this is one of my issues. I have a constituent who is a contractor for the Drain Commission that performed work for the Drain Commission last year, sent in an invoice to the Drain Commission last year, waited several months, and then contacted the drain office and was told that the invoice was lost to resubmit. They resubmitted, and then now they're being told that the controller's office is refusing to pay because the invoice is over a year old. And that we have a policy about that. Do we have a policy about that?
I do not believe we have a policy about an age of an invoice. We might look at it more particularly and more stringently to make sure that the work was actually performed. I don't believe that we would not pay something just because it's older than a year, unless it's in an actual contract, which we are developing for some of our offices that have been very negligent in receiving their billings.
So what should I tell that contractor?
To
that's my
contact me
constituent?
directly, please.
Say again?
Please have them contact me directly.
Okay, okay.
And a consideration for us would be, is there an ability to require contracts within like that type of an arrangement? Because what we run into that's a difficulty is we close our books September 30 and we have a period of time for audit purposes. So when we get an invoice a year later, we're dipping into the current fiscal year to pay for work that was performed in a prior fiscal year, right? And so like what we were doing with the public defender's office, we're trying to tighten it up like, hey, get us your invoices in a reasonable amount of time, right? I don't know, 30, 45 days.
Yep.
But 6 months to a year, whew. So for the contractual relationships that we have control over, we're gonna be looking to tighten that down, including you're not getting paid in that instance. But that's because the board has control over that, and we're gonna have a couple contracts we bring next month. I think the expectation is if you're doing business with us, get your stuff together, because getting an invoice a year later that's not great. It's not great for us to try to navigate, but if you're a private entity and that's how you're doing business with everybody, it's tough.
That it would be contingent, however, on actually having a contract with those entities that spells out, these are the expectations, and based on the information you've provided, I don't believe that there would be one of those. So I'm concerned about that instance.
Yep. And then 806 is the intercounty bank drain. So all tax assessments or any anything related to the intercounty bank drain goes into that single fund alone, correct?
That is correct. There is one other fund that is tied to the bank intercounty drain. That is Fund 856. That is for the debt on the bank intercounty drain.
Okay, because then you have 851, which is drain debt.
That is correct. So that is any borrowings that have happened against all of the drains.
Okay, so thank all the commissioners for hanging with me. Now we're going to go back to Fund 101, General Fund. This month, you're supposed to approve voucher 62412, which is for $1,150.74 to a Professional Investigation Group LLC, all right? It's from the Drain Commission, right? I looked, it is a company, LLC, right? Based in DeWitt. I looked and seen if, did a little research, and there's no webpage, no nothing. So I am wondering, why would the Drain Commission be hiring a private investigator or a investigating group, right? Or, excuse me, a professional investigating group?
Yeah, no, it's one of those pieces where this is the contractor that the Drain Commissioner uses for the soil erosion program, which was a topic at Public Works and Human Services this week about how that work is. Anyway, so part of the research we're doing is, does that work have to happen through the Drain Commissioner's office, or can it be structured differently? But that is the outside vendor. My understanding, they have a long history of law enforcement background, and they also have the soil erosion designation through the state, but correct. And we do have a contract with that entity to make sure that they've got business license and liability and auto coverage as well, because they have to use their own vehicle. But I know which vendor you're talking about, and it's associated with the soil erosion program.
Yes, but for a constituent or a commissioner to do due diligence in proving the bills, if I start searching up companies and I can't find anything besides that it's a, you know, according to the state, it's an organization, right? I mean, it's a company, but I have nothing to verify except off their name, right? And their name doesn't say soil erosion. It doesn't say drain, so it makes me ask questions. Because tax dollars are going to fund this to pay this bill, and then I have a constituent who did work on a drain that doesn't get paid. Makes me ask questions. So, thank you.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? Okay, we have a motion on the floor to pay our bills. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? All right. Item number 20, 2026-2027 budget schedule, budget meeting schedule.
I won't be here for that.
Well, should we have someone else speak on your behalf?
But the budget schedule that we put together is basically the same that we've used in the past. We did remove some of the budget items that, were pretty intense last year, where we had the full board meet. And you would have to do that again if you needed to. Some of the dates that are included on here are like a secondary meeting if you needed it to do budget presentations by departments again. Some potentially can go into the afternoon. We would let you know that that generally only happens if there would be departmental presentations, like a budget hearing. I don't know if Melissa has anything she wants to add to it.
I would simply add that if the committee does not feel it's necessary, we can always cancel those, but this at least allows for those to be scheduled now rather than in the future.
And it gives that guidance to our department heads and directors that want to kind of have a pulse, like I need to have this together. I have to meet with facilities and technology to line out my budget by this date and this date. So it's a helpful framework for the public and then also for all of our directors.
All right, so is this an action item? Yes. All right, so who'd like to move that we accept the schedule?
I'll move them.
All right, moved
Support.
and supported. Any further discussion, questions, or comments? All right, all those in favor of adopting the schedule, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, item 21, executive search interview panel update. For those of you not aware, we grilled someone in this very room yesterday. It was tedious and intense, but he survived. And now Chairman Mott would like to address that.
Yeah, to that point, the interview panel will update the full board Wednesday, and we look forward to that. But I want to request an action on one related item. In the interview, Mr. Dawson, Deputy Director Ben Dawson, mentioned that part of his vision would be to move as quickly as possible to modify the staffing structure in that office and to fill the gaps left with the upcoming retirement of Controller Sobey. So I would ask Ways and Means if they direct staff to put together an updated staffing model and to authorize them to send job descriptions to a third party that would consult, for a consultant, so who would prepare and make any necessary changes. So that's what I'm proposing to you, this committee today.
This would be the same consideration that was offered for the treasurer's
Yeah.
office update. Just have someone take a look at it.
So moved.
Okay, it's moved and supported. Any further discussion? All right, is there a timeline to fix to this?
So my hope would be we could have at least like the org chart and maybe the job descriptions ready by next week. If we can get the job descriptions finished and to the consultant to evaluate budgetary implications, we'd like to do that as well. Just based on the timing, that's why you don't have the job descriptions before you, because we're still working to get them done. But we have a vision for it, so hopefully we will have a decent amount of information, and then if we need to request additional consideration for a meeting to follow up, if we need more time, we'll ask for that, but hopefully next week.
Okay, Commissioner Barber.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is contingent on Mr. Dawson being approved. Is that correct?
I would make the recommendation regardless whether it's me or someone else, to be honest. But it's a good point. I could do two models, one if I'm not approved and then one if I.
Well, I was just bringing it up, like if you go back and watch the last video, right? The board didn't want to hire you, so.
I appreciate that.
So, who knows what Wednesday holds, right?
All right.
Yeah, if you watched the video yesterday, I think it's pretty clear.
I would just say to that, if you wanted my opinion on this, I think it's necessary. I think this is something that is long overdue in terms of structure. We have had positions rolled into positions. So we had, I had recommended an HR director. The board did that for me. It ended up having to be a deputy administrator again because you have to have some type of succession planning or, I drop over, somebody's got to be able to step in and do that. And that's what we did. But the office has struggled, and we've talked about investigations related to HR that have had to be done. You've got one person working on that, and that has been the deputy administrator. It was that way previously. I, in fact, wore 3 hats. So I was the deputy administrator, the finance director, and the HR director. So those are the things that have happened in this county, and it happens, I say it, I speak for every department, it happens in every department. So there are just things financially, HR-related, driven, that I think are necessary for the county to safe, secure, move forward in the right direction into the future. So regardless of whoever is chosen, I think that it's a necessity to do that, to give a foundation for any new administrator. I'll say I wish I would have had it. It's been something that's been very frustrating, and Chairman Mott and Chairman Drosha know and have heard, you know, me talk about it, but over the last 3 years, have we had money for a budget? Has it been, you know, and I'm not saying you do now, but now you have things that will start to break down and you're going to see that. So that would be my recommendation on that. So I don't care if, you know, it's a necessity,
Yeah,
under Ben or not.
it really, and if it's not me, we'll find a structure that works, you know, to put pieces into place. But you can either invest the money up front, or you're going to pay it on the back end through struggles with our audit processes, which could impact our grant funding, and then struggles with like human resources issues and potential for higher liability of lawsuits. And, you know, Connie, I think, would agree with me, the amount of internal investigations that we've had to run in the last 3 years, it's just a different workforce now. It really is. You've had enhancements to some state laws that added additional provisional protections for classes that didn't necessarily exist legally speaking. So it's just, this is the reality of where we're at. So I know sometimes people look at it and it's like, can't we just manage it the way we've always done? Things are very different. And I think you talk to private sector employers too, they acknowledge it as well. It's just, it's a different generation of workforce, and it's not gonna get any easier. So part of this strategy is, how do you mitigate regardless who's in the controller administrator seat? Because you're not always gonna be lucky enough to get a unicorn that can do, you know, payroll, finance, HR, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes you pick the best candidate for the job, but they might only have an HR background, or they might be really good at finance, but they don't have an HR background. And right now, we're not structured like that. We're overly reliant on, if we don't have the right person, it doesn't work. We gotta break that, in my professional opinion.
Any other questions, comments? All right, motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? All right, that brings us to item 22, limited public comment. If you'd like to speak to us, 3 minutes at the podium. I see no movement. So now on to adjournment, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.